Brittney Griner won gold in Paris 2024. She was on the podium, jersey on, flag raised, and then Team USA quietly left her off. The 2026 FIA World Cup roster entirely? No announcement, no explanation, just gone. So, what actually happened between Paris and Puerto Rico? Because what's circulating right now about it? DNA testing whispers. A physical and racially charged attack on Caitlin Clark, the face of Team USA. These aren't small things. This isn't just a roster cut. This is a reckoning. Let's talk about what they're not saying out loud. Are you excited to see Caitlin back on the court? Do you think Griner deserves to be fired? Let me know down in the comments below. Yeah, that's it. I think I'm still trying to, get through that part still to this day, that I try to give myself grace. Everybody says, give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault, and I let everybody down. Picture this. You're Brittney Griner. You just won gold in Paris. You stood on that podium. You heard the anthem. You were part of one of the most dominant women's basketball rosters ever assembled. And then 2 years later, the qualifying roster for the 2026 FIA World Cup drops. And your name isn't on it. No injury report, no retirement post, no farewell statement, just gone. The 2024 Paris Olympic team was built around veteran experience. Diana Taurasi, Brittney Griner, Chelsea Gray, Jewel Lloyd, Alyssa Thomas. These were players with years of national team history. Players who had been through big international moments before. The average age on that roster was over 30, and that wasn't an accident. USA Basketball built that team to win right now, and it worked. They brought home gold. Griner was part of that. She was in the rotation. She was on the floor in meaningful minutes. She was on the podium. You said that you felt that you let down yourself, your family, and your team's SO. How did you work through that? What you call this guilt that you were feeling? I don't think I've really gotten through all the way that, I didn't let down, everybody and my family. And, so when the 2026 qualifying roster came out, and you looked at the names Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers, and Angel Ree, it didn't just feel like a roster change. It felt like a completely different program. Different age profile, different energy, different direction, and Griner wasn't anywhere in it. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because Breanna Stewart also isn't playing in Puerto Rico. And you might think, okay, so they're just moving on from the Paris veterans across the board, right? But that's not what happened. Stewart's situation was explained. She's attending the training camp. Her absence from the actual qualifying games was addressed. There was communication around it with Griner. USA Basketball said nothing. No statement, no explanation, no context, just a roster without her name on it. That silence is doing a lot of work here, because organizations don't go quiet about roster decisions for no reason. When you cut a player who just won you a gold medal, and you don't say a single word about why, that's not an oversight. That's a choice. You stay quiet when the real reason is something you'd rather not have on the record. So fans started talking, and the questions got louder fast, because the timing lined up with things that had been building for months. Things that had nothing to do with Griner's post move or her rebounding numbers. The conversation wasn't about basketball at all. It was about everything happening around it. And this is what makes the Paris to Puerto Rico gap so significant. This wasn't USA Basketball going young, just for the sake of going young. They didn't clear the board. They kept who they wanted to keep, and they quietly left off who they wanted to leave off. The players on this new roster, Clark, Bueckers, Ree. These aren't just young players. They are the most visible, most marketable, and most watched players in the women's game right now. USA Basketball knows exactly what it's doing with this group. Griner not being on this roster isn't a footnote. It's a deliberate signal about the direction the program is going, and who they want attached to it. And the fact that they made that call right after a gold medal, without any public explanation, tells you the reasons run deeper than whether she can still compete at an elite level, because performance would have been an easy thing to say. We're going in a new direction athletically. That's a clean public answer. They didn't even give that. And when an organization won't give you the easy answer, it's because the real answer is something else entirely. But we have heard nothing from the WNBA. Absolutely nothing. Brittney Griner elbowed Caitlin Clark in a crazy way, and then called her a trash white girl, and Brittney Griner has not commented, which I find significant. I've watched that video countless times, and it sure looks like Brittney Griner says, __ white girl. The WNBA should investigate Brittney Griner seemingly uttering profanities about white girls. Let's talk about the other thing people are saying, because this one has gotten loud, really loud, and it connects directly to why USA Basketball may have felt like they had no real choice here. The DNA testing rumors around Griner have been floating around for a while, but they picked up serious traction after Paris. The basic claim is that questions about Griner's biological eligibility, specifically around gender verification, were being raised at the international level, not in the WNBA, internationally. And that's a really important distinction. Brittney Griner is in fact a man. The FIA doesn't operate the same way the WNBA does. The international governing body has its own frameworks around testosterone levels and biological classification that the domestic league simply doesn't apply. So a player who competes without any issue in the WNBA could walk into an FIA tournament and face a completely different set of questions, a different rulebook, different standards, and different scrutiny. Flaggy Brittney, let me see something real quick. Brick, thank you. Get the out of here. Yo, jab stepping just a brick. Oh, yo, I'm not going to fake it right now. That this person is not a female. Firstly, because this was actually posted to Brittney's personal Instagram. The specific rumors circulating in fan communities and media spaces involve Griner's past top surgery and questions about biological testing. These things are unverified. Nobody has come out with documented proof. But here's what matters. These rumors have been persistent enough and widespread enough that they stopped being just internet chatter and started becoming part of the actual conversation around her international future. That's a different category of rumor. That's one that organizations have to pay attention to whether they want to or not. That this person is not a female. Firstly, because this was actually posted to Brittney's personal Instagram. And when it comes to Instagram, they use a combination of AI detection plus manual surveyors, but specifically the AI detection to make sure that no explicit content ends up on the platform. So clearly whatever AI detection system was used when Brittney posted this, and it stayed up for 106 weeks, was not like, oh, this is a bare female chest, we have to take this down. It obviously assumed that Brittney was male, and here's where it gets interesting, because USA Basketball doesn't have to believe the rumors to respond to them. That's not how risk management works at this level. What they have to do is look at the realistic possibility that a player on their World Cup roster becomes the center of an eligibility controversy on the international stage, and then they have to decide whether that risk is worth carrying. Think about what that scenario actually looks like. You're at an FIA tournament, the whole world is watching, and one of your players gets flagged or questioned over eligibility. That's not just a problem for that player. That's a headline that follows the entire program. It pulls focus away from the basketball, away from the wins, and away from everything USA Basketball is trying to build right now. That kind of story doesn't go away quickly. Brittney is a weird case. He's a man. Yes, that much is obvious, but not in the way that you think. He isn't trans. He's a straight cis male who was raised as a girl and given a girl's name by his parents. His mother is the insane one. She forced him to live as a female right up through high school, filled out all of his paperwork, including BC as female, and kept the charade going. So, when you frame it purely as risk management, and that's reportedly how it was being framed internally, the DNA testing rumors gave USA Basketball a second completely separate reason to make the call they made. The conduct stuff was one lane. The eligibility question was another lane entirely. And both of them were pointing at the same outcome. Now, whether the rumors are actually true almost doesn't matter from a strategic standpoint. What matters is that USA Basketball was reportedly unwilling to walk into Puerto Rico carrying that uncertainty. And then beyond Puerto Rico into a full World Cup with that question still hanging in the air. The risk of it, even the possibility of it, outweighed whatever Griner brings to the floor at this stage of her career. Brittney Griner comes out and says, "I am so sick and tired of the NBA and WNBA. It used to be a peaceful little small thing. Now there are crowds screaming and hollering. This is disruptive. It's not allowing us to play the game. Every time we play here, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there watching on purpose. It's very disruptive." That's a cold calculation, but it's a real one. And it explains why USA Basketball stayed so quiet about the whole thing. You can't publicly say, "We left her off because of eligibility rumors." So, you say nothing. You just release the roster and let people figure it out. And once you clear that out, once you make the call that removes that risk entirely, you've got roster spots open for something that looks completely different. A new group, a new face at the front of it, someone who doesn't bring controversy through the door. She just brings cameras. Here's where it gets interesting, because there's a specific moment that people inside women's basketball keep coming back to when they try to explain what changed between USA Basketball and Griner. And it didn't happen in an Olympic gym. It happened in a regular season fever game. Brittney Griner appeared to call Caitlin Clark trash and an effing white girl. Griner and Clark ended up in the same space on the court. And what reportedly happened next wasn't a hard foul or a physical play. According to what spread through fan communities and basketball circles pretty fast, it was verbal. Gray allegedly called Clark a trash white girl. Not chirping, not competitive trash talk, a racial attack, direct pointing and caught on camera. Think about what that actually is for a second. That's not a heat-of-the-moment shove or an accidental elbow. That's a choice. And people noticed the layers in it. This wasn't just an insult. It was a racial one directed at the most watched player in the women's game right now. Brittney Griner, who I can't stand. Sad that she's a Baylor grad. She called her a trashy, exploitative white ex-girl. That was the lip reading. Yeah, trash white girl. Trash. Blanking white girls is what she says. So, what did the WNBA do? Nothing. No fine, no suspension, no public statement. Total silence. And that silence became its own story almost immediately, because everyone watching knew exactly what would happen if the rules were reversed. If Clark had said trash black girl to any player in this league, there's no version of that story where she keeps playing. That's a career-defining moment. That's 24-hour coverage, official statements, and immediate consequences. But when it went the other way, the league said nothing. Clark didn't retaliate. She got up and kept playing, the same as she did every time someone threw an elbow at her or fouled her to the floor during her rookie season. All year long, that was her answer to everything. Just keep going. And that contrast ended up putting a spotlight on everyone around her, because her response made everyone else's behavior more visible, not less. The noise is coming. I don't appreciate the new fans that sit there and yell racial slurs at me, my teammates, and and the people that I play against because, yeah, those might be opponents, but those are friends too. You know, like they don't deserve that. So, I don't appreciate the new fans that think it's okay to do that. Here's the thing though. Griner herself had publicly said she doesn't appreciate fans yelling racial slurs. She said that out loud. So when the allegations came out about what she said to Clark, that added a whole other layer to it. You're on record condemning that exact kind of language, and then you're the one allegedly using it on the court. The league would not be okay with a white player saying being a black girl. When this started circulating, the anger wasn't just coming from fans online. The question being asked at a higher level was straightforward. How does this look on an international stage? Because the FIA isn't the WNBA. A World Cup isn't a Tuesday night regular season game. The whole world watches those tournaments, and the whole world forms opinions about the players wearing Team USA jerseys. You can absorb a domestic controversy. The WNBA has done that plenty. But you cannot walk into a World Cup with that kind of story attached to a player on your roster and expect it to stay quiet. The media environment is different. The scrutiny is different, and the brand damage would be real. Let's see an investigation into the reverse racism that's going on across the league. Also, Griner is referring quite clearly, I believe, to Caitlin Clark and a white referee as trash-ass white girls. So reportedly inside USA Basketball, the conduct conversation started, and the way it's been framed in the circles talking about this, the alleged racial attack on Clark, wasn't just a headline that came and went. It reportedly became one of the specific documented reasons USA Basketball used internally to justify the roster decision. It gave them a conduct-based reason, something separate from basketball ability, separate from age, separate from team direction, and a reason about character and what you want attached to your program. The WNBA wouldn't make the call. So, USA Basketball made it themselves, and they did it without saying a word publicly about any of this, which, given everything running in the background at the same time, probably made sense to them. I love watching her score and just everything about her. They went the extra mile just to watch her play here. This is great news for women's basketball. Period. That's nice. And she was shooting the out of it. Of course she was. Right. So, she was shooting the out of it. And she's the face of the league. Agreed. She's the face of the league. Agreed. Just have nothing but great things to say about who she is as a person. Just so welcoming and so warm as an individual that she can have a conversation with anybody. She's cut from the same cloth as me in that regard. You know, us Midwesterners, we tend to just, accept everybody with open arms. She was so kind to my family and everyone in the suite when she came to KC. So, huge fans of Caitlin Clark. It is a mad situation, just all around when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Now, are you ready? Because this is the part that actually matters going forward. Clark was left off the Paris Olympic roster entirely. Fans were furious about it almost immediately. And honestly, looking back, it was hard to defend that decision. She was already the most watched player in the women's game. And now 2 years later, she's not just on the 2026 roster. Kara Lawson and USA Basketball built the whole thing around her. You just remind me who I am and what I've been, and you know I didn't lose that. So, just continue to do that. Clark, Buchers and Reese, all making their senior national team debuts at the same time isn't some happy accident. USA Basketball doesn't do things by accident at this level. This is them saying, here are the faces of this program for the next decade. Here's who we're building around. Here's who we want the world to see when they watch Team USA. All three of them in the same jersey at the same time for the first time. That's a statement. But here's where it gets interesting. Because Clark isn't walking into Puerto Rico from a position of momentum. She played only 13 games last WNBA season. Groin strain, bone bruise in her left ankle. It was a rough year physically, and it kept her off the court for about 8 months. So, her debut in Puerto Rico isn't just about making the team. It's about proving she came back at the same level in front of a global audience after the longest stretch of her career without real competitive basketball. I think that probably almost, played with my mind even more than, knowing I was going to be out for a set period of time. I was, like always, trying to come back, always trying to come back, and then I'd get hurt in another way. And then, finally, obviously shutting it nervous, but that probably comes from the fact that I haven't really played basketball in a while so. The fact that she acknowledged it says something about how real this moment is, even for her. But that pressure is exactly where Clark has always been at her best. She didn't shrink in March Madness when the whole country was watching. She didn't shrink in her WNBA rookie season, when players were fouling her hard every other possession, and the league was barely calling any of it. Every single time the moment got bigger, she got better. Puerto Rico is just the next version of that. Yeah, it's definitely been a while since I played a game. And obviously you can. I played in, the camp we had in December, and then, I did everything I could to simulate as much live play in training and pickup and things like that, but nothing will quite emulate this type of environment. So, I think it'll probably take me a second to knock a little bit of the rust off. I'll probably be a little bit nervous, and I usually don't get nervous, but that probably just comes from, I haven't really played basketball in a while. So I'm sure like after the first minute of running around on the court, I'll be just fine.